Hello, my name's Steve. I've noticed there have been different individuals posting videos on YouTube, um, kind of stating their confirmations of what they feel could be um, the actual event of the rapture. The dates that keep coming up is 9/23, and so I've prayed about it too. I'm not a big fan or seeker of miraculous things. I tend to just try to take things at face value. And plus, too, when it comes to any kind of divine revelations, I don't have any dreams to offer or anything like that, like a lot of folks do. But just a peculiar circumstance that I think was kind of interesting how it came up, because I did pray about it, asked the Lord, can you show me something that maybe helps me, helps others. I don't know, whatever you feel like you want to do, Lord. So um so I being kind of a numbers guy, I look at numbers all the time, and I'm always kind of trying to find some significance to them now and then. It's not real often that happens, but just sometimes, most of the time, it's like Bible verses. Like if I see a number on my clock, or a number on a CPAP machine, or for instance, it shows how long I slept, I'll take that number and maybe look up a verse or something as kind of a Bible verse. And so it's just kind of a fun way, I think, to do a morning devotion. But I've got my more organized devotionals that I work from anyway. But just more of a fun thing, I guess I do. But anyway, I wanted to kind of share this one with everyone. I'm trying to keep this video as pithy and short as possible, so I'll see if I can get right to it. So I had kind of been praying about it, and I just I just happened to wake up before my alarm. Actually, I don't think I had an alarm set for Saturday. I got up, and it was like I looked at my phone right away. The first thing I do is grab the phone and go, okay, what time is it? As I'm waking up, and it said 7:41. And so I thought, okay, there's not too many books in the Bible. There's 66 books, but there's probably not too many of them that have a chapter 7 that's got more than 41 verses in it. So I actually kind of cheated a little bit and used an AI. I think it was Grok or maybe Copilot, I can't remember, to say, okay, can you limit the number of books down in the Bible that have 7 chapters, but either that have 7 chapters but 41 or more verses in them. So I narrowed it down to like 5. And I thought, okay, that's kind of interesting. And all of the verses, I mean, they were kind of spread across the Old Testament and New. And I think the first one that was in the New Testament was Luke 7:41, and I thought, okay, that's interesting. I'll go take a look at it. And just to give that verse a little context, it's the part where Jesus is telling the story of 2 debtors. They apparently one had owned he owed like 500 pence, and then the other one only owed 50. So there's like one owed 10 times more than the other. And I thought, okay, that's kind of a cool story. I mean, I've read it a few times. I'm pretty familiar with it, and it's just kind of it shows kind of an example of how forgiveness can work, and from God's perspective, and how it more or less should work from our perspective as well. So essentially, that one, I think the main fact to glean from it is that to a person who's forgiven of more, has a greater sin debt, they're going to tend to be more appreciative and thankful to God for that sort of thing, as say opposed to someone who maybe doesn't have a huge sin debt, or they haven't committed any huge heinous sins or anything like that. So they probably are not going to be as responsive to God's grace. I think that's kind of the meaning behind that verse. But anyway, getting to the actual, what I thought, okay, I know that there's numbers associated with the rapture. I know that there's a Strong's Concordance index number. I think it's Greek number 726 that's associated with they call it in Greek it's called harpazo, HARPAZO, I believe, and that's in reference to what we find in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 17, where it talks about the Lord coming and snatching his church out of this world when it's time to do so. So that's a kind of an interesting number, and I've seen people do videos on that one. And then the other number that I've been seeing going around is 923, which is essentially it's the beginning of a Jewish feast, Jewish festival I think it's like a couple days. It's called the Feast of Trumpets. And so we're looking at, I think, a range of dates from like 922 to 924 for that. And it's always kind of an uncertain day as to when it starts, from what I understand, because sometimes you're going to have clouds obscuring the moon, and so they need two rabbis to kind of look at the moon to see if it's a new moon, and it's basically you got to have two witnesses to verify if that's a new moon date, and then if it is, then that festival starts. And I've heard an idiom that's been kind of mentioned. It's called the unknown day, I believe, or the unknown day and hour. I may be misquoting it, but so essentially that's kind of tied to the Feast of Trumpets. And so what we're seeing this year is it's always kind of a high watch time when Feast of Trumpets rolls around, because we tend to associate possibly the Lord's return to pull the church out of the world. And so the date that's been kind of tossed around quite a bit is 923, although 924 comes up as well. So I've seen some videos with both. In my case, I thought, well, I'm going to just see, there's numbers in that verse I looked up in Luke 7:41. The number 2, because there were 2 individuals, 2 debtors. Okay. The number 500, and then the number 50. So I just thought, okay, simple addition. I'll add them and see what I get, So 50 plus 500 plus 2 is 552. Okay. No big deal. Doesn't seem very significant, to me. So then I thought, okay, well, what are some quirky things about 552? And the very first answer I got from, because I asked the AI to help me kind of find some quirky relationships and math concepts around 552. And the first thing it came to was factorization. It just said, well, if you take 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, okay, and then you multiply that times 23, okay. So if I could write that out, and I don't have the camera set up to show you, but you just have to take my word for it. If you write on a piece of paper 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, okay, and then times 23. Well, what I did is I thought, okay, I'm just going to add the numbers that are factors and see what I get. So I added 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3, and I got 9, okay. And then I just left the 23 out there on its own. So voila, I ended up with 923. So I don't know, just could be a quirky thing, kind of a coincidence, but then again, you never know. I don't want to be somebody who sets a arbitrary date for the rapture and then it doesn't happen, and then it'll look like a total goofball. But it's just kind of interesting that it came out that way, and so I'm just going to put it out there. If anybody wants to do something with that or take it a little further, that's fine. So anyhow, thanks for your patience. Already this video has gone way too long, so take care.